Hello and welcome back to Building the Wall. Today I'll be covering the many armor setups of the Wall, my 4.5 pound beetle weight shuffling robot. I'll begin with the namesake of the robot, the Wall. This is a 18-inch wide TPU wedge. This is a very low infill piece and only comes into about 295 grams. These both combine like this and wrap around the robot, screwing in on the back, and a total of 6 screws for the combined two pieces on the front. On the sides here, I have cutouts for the axles of the shuffler pods. And I have on the front artwork to stylize the wall and the wall on the bottom. Then this is the setup that I mostly use for pictures and other things. This setup has not seen combat, specifically these wedges. I have a similar set of wedges that are a higher infill that have seen combat and did cause some problems with entanglement. So that setup is not going to be shown as it's being completely redesigned for a future iteration of the wall. The next setup are my fork mounts. These have the same inner profile to wrap around the robot as the previous wedges, but they are a different outside profile and a much more dense, thicker print. These have a M5 bolt running in the front here, the same as my axles for my shufflers that hold on the forks. And I have 2 different styles of forks. I have these, which are the straight forks that I'll run against a beater bar, a drum, or any other kind of vert. And then I also have, for control bots or hammer saws, which is also just kind of control bot, I have these keep away forks, which keep the opponent's robot in the perfect striking zone as long as I'm shoving against a wall, right here, for my hammer to come down on their top plate ideally. The mounts themselves are about 260 grams total for this big TPU piece. They're 2 separate pieces. And then with the forks, everything combined here is about 460 grams. Before moving on, I would like to address one of the small failure points of the wall. The M5 bolts that hold on the forks. They were never a match determinative issue of the robot, but it was quite annoying to repair the robot with a bolt being bent about, I'd say, like 5-10 degrees. And not being able to thread it out, which it has to go all the way out through this side right here. This one is from the fight against Basics, where these forks also took most of the abuse, causing the forks themselves to bend. These are AR500, I believe 3/16 thick, if I remember right. And not only the forks took all the abuse, but they transferred some of that load back into the bolt itself, which is just a stainless steel bolt, nothing special or anything. That is one of the next parts I want to learn about, is learning to find stronger, different kinds of bolts. That's the next learning curve through my combat robotics journey. But let's move on to the next part. The next setup, and by far my least used setup, is these. These are another version of the fork mounts. They are about 200 grams total with no forks on them. And they fit with the same exact forks as the previous mounts. They are designed to keep hits out here while maintaining the lowest weight out of any of the setups for my armor. So I can then run these. These are a solution for hammer saws. They're a nylon piece sandwicing a piece of titanium. This is, I think, 1.6 millimeter titanium, grade 5, with a thick TPU piece on top. And this is designed to first slow down a hit from a hammer saw or sawbot, and then stop it. And then this piece is just here to absorb any shock. It should be another TPU piece, but for now it's just going to remain a nylon piece. And that all comes out to be around the same as my previous setup, around 400 grams, 460 grams. Which means I can run forks as well as top armor to prevent any hammer saws from pushing me around, while also being able to defend them and maintain most of the control over my own robot without having them come through the top, hopefully. This setup has never been tested in combat yet. I did end up running these top plates against, I believe it was Boink in the RCE finals, but since I wasn't running a weapon at that fight, since it had died earlier in the event, I was able to run these with my normal fork setup, not running a spinner, just going as a hammer thwack bot. And they did hold up pretty well against Boink. They only took one real hit right here, and they didn't take any meaningful damage, so they'll be sure to be used again in a future event, assuming I face any top attack bots. Moving on to the newest and most unproven setup for the wall. This is my new horizontal setup, hopefully. They have 3-inch long baleen forks on the front and a very sturdy sidewall. It's about 1/2 inch thick, same as my front. That will hopefully prevent my shufflers from getting hit if there is a stray glance to the side. But hopefully I'm going to be keeping any hits to the front here to slow down the spinner of the horizontal, and then pin them against the wall to bring down the hammer on their head. This is all in theory though, so it's not been proven at all. I hope to test it at the next event I go to. But this is my newest setup for the wall. I'll now quickly demonstrate how they attach to the robot. The tab on the back here just goes into a little slot right here, and then will be held on by 2 screws on the back, just right there. And then on the front, there are a total of 3 per side, 6 in total, M5 screws, M5 bolts that will hold the face onto the robot. I haven't had a failure mode with these at all, but this back part has ripped out before in one match in the September NHRL event that I attended with this robot. But it didn't affect the match at all. I had already been knocked out. I think that was against Prince that happened. I had been knocked out by getting flipped upside down and having the arm gear die. So, this has been the armor setups for the wall. Thank you for tuning in.